Hello, everyone. So today is September 21st, 2022, and we are going to go over kind of the first part of our lecture today, lecture 4, which is sampling theory. And to kind of summarize this, you want to go ahead when we try to use statistics to tell a story about an entire population or any population for that matter. It's not feasible to be able to go ahead and get every bit of information from everybody, right? There's just too many people in the world, and because of that, we can't get all of that information. So what we do is we take a sample, right, or we take a subset of the population and we analyze that, and then what we try to do, the term is called kind of extrapolate, or we generalize this information to the larger population. So that is sampling theory, kind of like a short way to go ahead and kind of tell you about what sampling theory is, right? So to go over the outline today, we're going to go over key terms. We're going to talk about what a population is and how we define a population, what a sample is and how that's defined. Then we're going to go over certain types of methods in terms of how are different ways that we can go ahead and essentially sample from a population, right? We're going to go over random sampling, we're going to go over systematic sampling, stratified sampling, and clustered sampling. And then in a separate lecture, we will go over the sampling distribution of the mean, a sampling distribution, and the central limit theorem. And then a third lecture is going to be the lab portion, where I'm going to go ahead and essentially go over everything that we're going to cover in the 2 lecture slides. And we're going to use SAS to essentially go ahead and perform some sampling and apply some sampling distribution and central limit theorem analysis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start tackling these slides. So what is a population and what is a sample, right? So the population is essentially the entire group that you're interested in, right? So it has to be really thought through, intentional, and well defined, right? A population could be it typically starts off something very vague, right? We can do all Queens College students, right? That's like thinking through, okay, so we're curious about Queens College students, so all Queens College students. But then the next question is, well, when, right? Is it all ever? Are we talking about only active students? Are we talking about only students that graduated? Is it that they've attended one semester or have taken one credit? Did they have to pass? Did they have to fail, right? So you really have to really think through what your population is and that you're interested in, right? So that's the very first step in terms of determining what the population is. And then a sample is actually kind of a lot simpler, right? In the sense that a sample is just a segment or a sliver of that population, and you hope to then go ahead and be able to use statistics to calculate some findings from that sample and then say that's representative of the population, right? That finding is representative. So here I have an example. As I was putting this together over the weekend, and the Giants are doing really good, so I said, let me use a New York Football Giants example for you all, right? So you randomly sample 8,000 people at a New York Giants game, right, where the attendance is 82,500, right? And you ask them what they do for a living and how much they make, right? So this is what we're interested in. So your sample is 8,000, right? The population is 82,500, right? That's all the people that's at the game. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, again, just a note that we have office hours on Tuesdays from 7 to 8. I know a lot of you have been taking advantage of that. I really encourage you to jump on and reach out, because it's I think it's a nice format for us to be able to kind of connect and kind of talk through any questions that you have. Okay, so this is kind of like a visual that typically everybody always uses when they kind of try to visually depict what a population, what a sample is, right? So you see that this figure on the left that has population, this is everybody, right? So using our New York Giants example, right? This is everybody who's in the stadium right over here, right? And then what we do is we use some sort of sampling methodology to then go ahead and create our sample here. We get some information about these folks, and we hope that, and the goal is ultimately to take what we learn here and then extrapolate it out to these folks right over here. And what we really are looking for is good representation, right? We want everyone here to have the opportunity to essentially be in there, right? So that's really kind of foundational to this whole process. So let's go over the different types of sampling methods, right? So it's going to be really important that you all know about the different types of sampling, or at least these 4 types. Let's set the bar now, right? I need you to know that there are 4 major types of sampling, and then you're going to need to know how they are essentially different. Okay, so the first type is random sample. That's really straightforward, right? You randomly go ahead and just select somebody. If we had, using the New York Giants example, if we took everybody's ticket, put it in a hat, you stuck your hand down, randomly grabbed one, pulled them out, that person ended up in your sample, that's essentially a random sample, right? Picking randomly from a list, okay? Then we had systematic sample, right? So this is, for example, every 4th person that walked into the building, right, is going to be selected for our sample. So now these folks are going to the Giants game. Person 1 goes through, person 2 goes through, person 3 goes through, person 4. You have been selected to be part of this sample, right? So stratified sample is a little bit different, because what you first do with a stratified sample is you create a strata, right, or a category based off of something that you're interested in. So, for example, you might want to only look at females at the New York Giants game. So then you would divide your population into males and females, and then only sample from the females, because now, look, I'm really interested. Your research question is only interested in a female specific one, right? Or maybe age group. You're interested in somebody who's a little bit older or perhaps younger. Are there differences between older fans and younger fans? Do older fans spend more money at the game versus a younger fan, or did they earn more money, right? So that's a stratified sample. For example, I'll give you an example using our class survey data that we took, right? We might be only interested in the dietetics majors, right? And so therefore you would create a strata based off of your major, right? Whether it's phys ed, exercise science, or nutrition dietetics, and then only sample from the nutrition dietetics, right? So that's stratified sampling. And then there are clustered samplings, where when you have large groups, and it becomes, this is kind of like a logistical challenge. You have large groups. So what you want to then go ahead and do is put these groups into a cluster or a grouping, and then randomly select the groups as a whole. So this is just a brief overview of the types of sampling, and the next series of slides we're going to go into each type. And we're going to pause here